Yes, yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to the first round commentary of the US Chess Senior Women's Championship. I went live earlier and there was no sound, so I'm back now. Hopefully all is good. Please confirm you can hear me to make sure this is going to go well. I am WGM Sabina Foisor and I'm very excited for the opportunity to be back here on stream. Last stream of me that you've seen on US Chess is probably the US Open. I am always very excited to cover big tournaments taking place in the country and thankful to have the opportunity to be here in Utah where this third annual US Chess Senior Women's Championship is taking place. A big shout out to Precision Tune Auto Care for sponsoring the event. I had all this speech planned earlier. The games have started about half an hour ago or so, and I think many of you are probably very excited to get into the games. I just want to give a very quick recap, letting you know the current U.S. women's senior champion is women's FIDE master Natalia Tsodivkova. She is the defending champion. I have had a great podcast with her on US Chess. If you haven't heard that podcast, please do check it out. And there will be more interviews coming from this tournament. Without further ado, let's get into the games. We have women's grandmaster Angelina Belakovskaya, 3 times US women's champion. She is playing against Varinia Cabrera, originally from Cuba. This is Varinia's first US Women's Senior Championship, I believe. And the players have started with a Queen's Indian or East Indian. And basically in these kinds of positions, black does not take control over the center anytime soon. And the big key square for this position is the e4 square. E4 square is always very important. We're trying to make sure that we have the opportunity to control it, whether it is with white or black. And it looks like Angelina decided to go for f3. And while chess.com does show that this move is a mistake, I wouldn't quite taking it as that. The idea is to control e4 and get ready to play e4. The reason for this bar change here that you see is probably because after this move, white does allow black to play the move d5. Did not mean to do that. If black plays d5 in this position, white will have a little bit of trouble playing e4, but there's nothing to worry about. We can always capture, maybe play bishop g5 first, or maybe go for e3 followed by bishop d3, knight e2, castle, and eventually white will get ready to push this pawn to e4. It will take a little bit of time, but eventually it will happen. But it looks like in the game black decided not to go for that. Instead, Varinia decided to go for bishop b7, just follow through with the development, and now white is taking control over the center. And as I discussed earlier, white is going to develop the pieces as my arrows point out. In this position, very likely the bishop in e3 or g5, the bishop goes to d3, knight e2, queen d2, and we'll have to see which side of the board Angelina is going to castle on. Black has just continued with a very cautious, I would say, development, and now we have this move knight g to e2, castle, castle, rook c1. Actually, this is quite an interesting move, this move rook to c1 in this position. I was expecting queen d2, but maybe Angelina is not sure this is the best placement for the queen. She does have new ideas here with potentially queen e1, queen g3 being brought for the attack, or maybe even putting the queen in f2, especially with the rook in c1 actually possibly supporting b4 c5. The queen in f2 would be a great help to make that happen. So we'll see how this game will continue further. Right now, this is the position that we have on the board. for those of you who are wondering where the games are broadcasted live, I will make sure to pin this comment. So you can check out the games at your own pace if you want on chess.com. And if you're watching a particular player, you want me to go back to a specific board, please do not hesitate to let me know, and I'd gladly be going there and discussing the position with you. Don't hesitate to write me messages in the chat if you feel. Call me on mistakes that I'm making, or any questions that you have, whether it is related to this tournament or any chess related questions. I would be very happy to address them. It's always nice to to have a conversation occasionally, so feel free to do so. So black is finally getting to attack the center, and now we'll see if Angelina will keep the pawn in d4 or consider going for d5 and getting more space. It's important to note that from my experience with playing against Angelina one time and also seeing her compete, she tends to be more of an aggressive player. She enjoys attacking chess. So to me, I feel she will play d5 in this position, but that remains to be seen. Let's move on to board 2, the game between Women's International Master Alexey Root and the defending US Women's Senior Champion, Women's FIDE Master Natalia Todikova. Alexey started with e4, and it looks like we have an Italian bishop c5. That is a move I play personally myself, and I enjoy it quite a lot. For those of you watching, knight f6 is the other very typical famous line that a lot of people play. They're about the same number of games in both. What knight c6 allows is the fried liver, which, depending on your level, this is something you may have done in your life or fallen for a few times. So if you're not ready to memorize a lot of those lines, which normally lead to a pretty good position for black, according to the latest engine, bishop c5 is an alternative. With this, you're keeping the queen open to control the g5 square, so knight g5 is not going to happen. However, this move keeps the bishop, or puts the bishop on a position where it's going to be easily chased away and help white get more center. So Alexey goes for c3, knight f6. She chose a more quiet approach, I see. She ended up going for d3. d4 leads to some simplifications where black needs to immediately take control over the center. And usually this is a line that you often encounter. Capture once, and now bishop b4 check. White has a variety of responses: knight d2, knight c3, bishop d2. Bishop d2 is relatively the most played and solid, I would say. And after the take, knight takes to control the center. Make sure those pawns are both covered, and very, very important. I don't know what the levels you personally are in your chess careers. If you're an adult improver, a kid watching, or someone who knows this might be too easy for you, but if you are new to chess and struggle to improve, just remember, when the opponent has more than a pawn in the center, and they have two, it's very important to set your grounds as well and make sure you attack the center too. That is something you can do to learn an opening. You don't always have to stay and memorize moves. What you can do is try to think in ideas, think about the strategic game where your opponent wants to do things and you have to stop them. This is how you stop them. d5, a very important move. If black doesn't play this move, white is going to start pushing those pawns forward, chasing the knights away, and white's space advantage is going to be very difficult to meet. So d5 is important, and then there's of course more theory and games that can be discussed, but let's go back to the game. So Alexey chose d3, castle d5. The most I think this is the most typical approach. I've personally tried d6 on many occasions, followed by the idea with a6, retreat the bishop, and try to go actually for white's bishop with knight a5. Sometimes people retreat this bishop to make sure d4 or b4 does not come in with tempo and the bishop is out of harm's way. This bishop can go to g4 or e6, and at some point d5 will be played. But it's another story for another day. Natalia goes for d5 directly. Pawn takes, knight takes, and rook e1. I'm enjoying both sides' development. Bishop g4, making sure that the bishop is developed on an active square. h3, bishop h5, and now we see bishop b3. If I'm not mistaken, actually, oh no, there might be some issue. Guys, just give me one moment. Okay, so small emergency in the playing area. I have to go check it out, but I have some good news for you. While we are, I'm going to go check things out. What I want you guys to do, if you want, is check out this. Besides the games, which I will leave you with, this is going to be a link where you can see the players playing live. You have actually access to the first board, and you'll be able to see that. And while I'm gone temporarily, I will let you actually watch that stream here. But I do want you to know that you have the link to check the games directly, and I promise you I'll be back, and I'll make this longer than I would have to because we had this technical difficulty. So let's see if my thing works. One moment. All right, guys, I am back. How are we doing? Okay, everything is good. Everything is good when it finishes good. That's what they say. Okay, so we left off in this position where Natalia played bishop h5 and bishop b3. An interesting idea by Alexey, giving up the d3 pawn and wanting to get ready to take it is interesting. I don't know this line. I'm as puzzled as maybe some of you are. Is queen takes d3 a move? I think it is, and she played it. And the idea is to get the pawn back in this fashion. Kind of a cute idea. Knight takes e5. Also, of course, with that pawn gone, you may be thinking of potential attacks on this diagonal. But here, knight takes e5, and you have to see, are you going to capture the queen? But then you allow knight takes d3. And the position is probably just slightly bit better for white because this rook is on an open file. But in the game, queen f5 was played. Knight back to f3, which makes sense because the pawn in f2 is of course hanging, so you don't have the ability to capture because you're going to lose this pawn and the queen. So a bit too much to give up in that position. I think the only two options for white really are either this knight to f3 or that knight to f3, but this one doesn't really make sense because black can just capture, and then after rook takes e5, I think we can go queen takes e5, knight takes e5, bishop takes d1, bishop takes, and now black is up material. So you cannot go for that line. You have to go for knight e to f3 back, closing down the action to f2, and now rook d8. And this is the current position on the board. Interesting. What to expect here from white? I was thinking bishop c2 is an option, definitely kind of a good one. With the d3 pawn gone, white is trying to put pressure on the diagonal. Actually, I need to mention something going back to this moment. You see, if I wouldn't know that this is an option in the position, I would personally not go for this line. And I'll tell you why. If we compare the pawn in e5 and the pawn in d3, I would say the pawn in e5 is the more active one. The one in the center, this one is relatively weak, right? We can capture it supposedly any time, but this pawn, if black would be able to play f6 and create a chain here, black's position would be really good. Of course, that's not an option, but maybe we can consider going king h8 and just letting go of that pawn, just keeping ours, because white is pinned, they cannot take the pawn. And the idea for me would be that this is going to be a long-term weakness and I wouldn't want to trade it personally, but this is just my idea. Feel free to call me on it. And now, of course, that's not an option because you're pinned and you'll have to cover the pawn. Or maybe you can go knight e4 or bishop c2 or queen c2 or queen e2. Way too many moves. Knight e4 looks nice. And my plan would be to just go back. You know what they say, go backwards and then get back stronger. Same as in life, you know, things are not going well, don't tell anyone what's going on. Work on yourself, get better, and then do it for yourself, not to show someone in any way. It's much better when you do it for yourself because you're just learning, you're getting yourself better. It's good, you get a good feeling. So anyways, this would be my approach. Maybe you can go knight g3 or something. And here I would have to decide if I want to take or go back to g6. Obviously, going back to g6 would allow this trade of those two pawns anyways. If we go bishop takes f3, we give up the bishop. So you see, there's always a trade-off. Black cannot really get everything in the position, and that's probably the reason why in this position Natalia decided to choose this approach instead and just basically capturing there and and now playing rook d8, queen e2. The position, I gotta say, is relatively balanced. If I were black here, I would consider trying to find a way to take advantage of this. Of course, rook e8 is not an option. It's interesting. What would be my choice in this position? Hard to say. Really hard to say. I was thinking bishop d6. I don't know why I'm thinking attacking ideas, but I was thinking bishop d6, something like that. Might be a bit too much. I'm intrigued by this move queen e2. I was considering bishop c2 as an option for white, but maybe here, if we go bishop takes f3, this loses, and then if you go knight takes, if we take, they take. This seems quite balanced, actually. But do you guys have any suggestion, any ideas? Any other ideas? Queen e2 is very interesting. Alexey is playing much faster. I wonder if how much of this line she had prepared for today's game. We'll have to be back to this game. Let's catch up with both three, where we have Women's FIDE Master Olga Sagalchik against Women's International Master Shirnaz Kennedy. And it looks like they had a transposition to a Slav. d5, knight c3. Mehran. Or better said, an anti-Mehran line. Usually in Mehran, white proceeds with the move e3. Because when people play the Mehran, they're controlling the center really well, and they want to make sure that the capture in d5 is going to be met with a recapture, but in the same time, with the pawn in c6, black is preparing an idea with capturing this pawn and going b5. So that's why normally white plays e3. Now, lines that are called anti-Mehran in a way, or anti-Slav, bishop g5 actually allows this d takes c4 to happen, and the idea is with this pin over here, we have the ability, in case of a capture, to go for e4. So white gives up the pawn but takes control over the center, and then with the bishop there, of course, we have e5 going on, and that is going to be kind of scary in some lines. Some people are scared of that line. IBD7, and white decided to capture. Okay, makes sense. e3 is an alternative in this position, just simply protecting the pawn. And white should be happy with the bishop in g5 with not having lost the pawn. But of course, after e3, for those of you who are wondering, there is a nice line for black to consider here. The move is queen a5. So this would be called the Cambridge Springs. And it's quite interesting, actually, because the knight has come to d7 and protects f6. There's no issues there. With the queen in a5, we're pinning this. And we want to go bishop b4, put additional pressure on c3, and just see how white reacts. And I have a funny story with this. Growing up, I remember I fell for this trap a couple of times, and I also was able to do this trick myself with the black pieces. So what happens is, we have the bishop in g5, very normal and protected and everything. But the best move for white in this position is to cut out this pin by playing the move knight to d2. And in this position, there's bishop b4 or there's d takes c4. And I need to tell you, there's been a lot of times that this has happened when I was growing up. just simply white recapturing and totally forgetting that this bishop is not protected anymore. So that's an idea you always want to be mindful about. Please don't lose your bishop. If this happens, make sure you either move the bishop or capture in f6 first. And after the recapture, you can gladly take your pawn back. But don't forget about your bishop. Trust me, it's painful to lose the bishop like that. So white decided to take in d5. This, of course, avoids the situation where the pawn in c4 is going to be captured, and now e3. So queen a5 is, of course, still a move to be played by black, but it doesn't lead to the same kind of ideas. And I will tell you why, because normally after e3, queen a5, if white chooses to go for this line instead of knight d2, actually black has an opportunity to also capture with a knight. Right? So we can capture with the pawn and get the exact same position that Shehnaz got in that game, but she can also capture with the knight, which in my opinion is a better move for black, because now the pressure is happening on c3. On this move order, and move orders are always things you want to be mindful about, on this move order with white, you're not giving black the opportunity to capture back with the knight. So after pawn takes, you know that that's the pawn structure you will have. And after e3, the ideas with queen a5, to my knowledge, are not as great anymore. So if I were black, I would probably consider going bishop e7 instead and just break the pin, bishop d3, very natural, castle, of course, and we could play transpose to a queen's gambit exchange variation, not the line that's famous and popular with bishop d3, knight e2, but just the classical queen's gambit declined, and then with an exchange happening in d5. So here Shehnaz decided to continue with these ideas with queen a5, which we'll have to see what happens here. Knight d2, bishop d6, bishop d3, development, and rook to c1. Now rook to c1 is, of course, very natural, but with the bishop in d6, there's no pressure on anything, so rook c1 wasn't really necessary. I wonder why castle was not played. There's no Greek gift or anything, Greek gift being, of course, the sack in h2. So yeah, I think this wasn't really necessary, the move rook to c1, in my opinion, but let's see. I see what could be white's idea now. Rook c1 could be a prophylactic idea, and I love prophylaxis. Even if it's not there, I will make it be like it is a prophylactic idea. So with developing the rook here, we can consider going by bishop b1 followed by queen c2, and white is going to put pressure on the king. We'll see if that is actually happening or not. Bishop h4. Would not be my choice here. It wouldn't be my choice. The bishop stays fine. It wasn't attacked. I wonder why Olga decided to retreat, but she did retreat. Knight e4 takes, and bishop c4. Okay, of course she has an idea in mind with the bishop in h4. The bishop can go, of course, to g3 later, but how important is that is the question. How important is it? I guess it is important with the capture. I see. So she was just worried about the opening, and that's why she made that decision after rook e8 to go bishop h4. But the capture in e4 wasn't really necessary. Okay, let's catch up with the game. Bishop c4, queen f5. Queen f5 is interesting. One thing I think we should all be mindful about is development, right? This bishop needs to be taken out. Of course, you'd love to put it in g4, but since that's not an option, what about knight g6? I like knight g6. We can chase the bishop away, and now we can think of, I think trade could be okay. H takes. And if you do want to bring this queen on another location, let's check this square out. Queen g5. the queen is being brought on this other side of the board, and with the double pawns we can actually consider going h5, h4, or maybe bishop g4. Another idea, you know, it's really nice. It's really nice to have this going. Just my personal opinion, you know. f4. I don't really see a threat, so f4. Or maybe Olga was really unhappy with potentially having to trade there and the h-pawn push, so she decided to kind of keep her king safe. f4, knight g6, bishop e1. Actually, to tell you the truth, not that I'm actually ever lying or anything, but I see the regroupment that Olga is doing. Bishop e2 to prepare. She might prepare g4, guys. I'm not sure 100%, but I'm seeing that as an option. I'm seeing it as an option here. And I really wanted to suggest this move, but of course it doesn't work. It doesn't work because rook takes and this pawn will be lost. That's why f4 could be a really nice opportunity, but okay, so where is b5 helping white too much? Because maybe bishop e2 is anyway something that white wants to do in this position. Like normally I would say to go bishop here, but again, like you have to be careful with the placement of your queen and everything, because g4 could be something that you're dealing with. I don't know if we can do it. No, because if we take, pawn takes. But at least white's pawn structure is destroyed. Now we go g4, the queen moves, and then we lose this pawn. So it's a struggle to come up with a good plan now that f4 was played. In order to build up an attack, I'm looking for a potential attack for black, which I feel it's something that Shernaz is considering. Now, this is another move I'm thinking could be interesting for black to play, but again, these ideas with bishop e2 are a bit scary with the weakening of the position. So maybe b5 is fine, bishop e2, but yeah, the bishop in d7 just doesn't have its place. Maybe c5. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell how to make it work without actually giving up some sort of material even. That move is definitely not. Maybe knight b5. It's hard to come up with a good plan then. But I probably shouldn't touch that pawn because the c pawn will stay backwards. And since c5 doesn't work, we may need to come up with an alternative. This queen, I'm not liking it here at all. Oh wow, white went for d5. These ideas start to come to life for me, in my opinion, as soon as I saw the bishop retreat. This was my first instinct, playing g4. And I gotta tell you, I have a really bad experience with allowing my opponent to chase one of my pieces away. And it happened to have been a queen too. And then when my queen moved, guess what happened? I got a bishop trapped. I had a bishop in h3 actually. My opponent played g5, chased something away, and then g4, and my bishop got trapped. Here, nothing is really going to get trapped. But looking at the position, at some point when this will happen, it will get very unpleasant for black. So d5 may seem like a decision where white is trying to get black to recapture, and then potentially here actually maybe capturing with the knight or with the bishop. I'm not sure which I like best, bishop or knight. Maybe knight. Knight takes. And then if you capture, this is what she wants to do. Bishop takes followed by bishop c6, forking those two pieces. So here, d5 is a bit of a scary option. Okay, what is black's best approach? Because this doesn't work, of course, we're dropping the pawn. What about this? Are we gonna lose material? We are. Nice one, bishop. I was about to suggest this, bishop c5. Very nice find by Shernaz. She's not rushing, because I'm telling you, you know. And here's again the situation that we saw in another game that I was mentioning. When you're about to trade something, you always have to think whether you're helping yourself or the opponent. And here, with this capture, with white having the ability to recapture here, not in d5, black remains with the backwards pawn, long-term weakness. We don't need to win anything on the spot. We'll have the opportunity to attack it later. But here, you know, with the move bishop c5, it's actually going to be a bit tricky, I gotta say. Bishop f2. And now, you know what? If we have to be careful for potentially captures. I really wish knight takes f4 was working here. It would be way too cool of an idea to play that. b4 will allow this sacrifice. Temporary, but we're actually winning something. So bishop f2 was played. We need a good move for black in this position, because now we have set up our bishop. We took it away from one file, but now we put it on another file where it stays on a potential discovery, and it would be hanging. So what's the best approach for that bishop? Because, I mean, the capture, it leads to basically the same thing, or even like knight takes d5 maybe or something. And then there's knight c7 as well, which is a problem. Bishop b6, and if white takes, we should be fine, right? This is the only thing that I see that seems to avoid losing material for black. And if Shernaz finds that, she's gonna have a pretty okay position. Anything but allowing, you know, a discovery for white. So we'll be back to this game. Let's catch up with the other boards as well. I'm a bit behind because of my small technical difficulty with the mic, which it's very strange because it showed me that it's working, so I do not know what was actually happening. So what do we have here? We have a FIDE-rated defense, approximately. Not approximately, I mean definitely a FIDE-rated. But bishop c4. I think most people play d4 here. I played the Philidor myself with black, and I think it's still a pretty playable variation. You might not expect too much of it, but depending on how the opponent reacts to the position, you can actually get a good position. But bishop c4 was played instead of d4. Interesting, like more quiet, and Mary is trying to follow through with the usual plans in the Italian with c3, d4. Knight f6 forces the move d3, and we'll see how she will get that work, making it work in a bit. So bishop g4, rook e1. Rook e1 is very typical. h3 could have been played first, but rook e1 is very typical for these pawn structures for white. The knight goes to f1 to open the bishop, and then the knight has its path either e3 or g3 and come towards f5. Okay, Jennifer is setting up a good position. So I was mentioning to you at the start of the stream that Jennifer is actually has not played chess for many years, but she told me secret. It's not really a secret. It's a video that will eventually be posted on US Chess. But she mentioned to me that she is actually playing a lot online. And so I feel that she's ready. I mean, we'll see. But I feel that she's ready for this tournament. Knight f5, queen c7. It is difficult to meet a knight in f5 when you don't have your light square bishop anymore. I get that. I'm just wondering how terrible would this choice be? If knight h6... I don't know if king g7 works. I don't see why not. Because bishop g5 could be met by knight e6 potentially. It's not perfect, but it is something. I don't know how happy I am that black decided to give up the bishop for the knight just yet. Maybe this was an option, just, keep the bishop. I tend to like to keep the tensions, because especially when you give up a bishop for a knight without getting something in return, like double pawns or a weak pawn, or closing down the position, you're just giving up an advantage to the opponent. And something that I like to say is that in chess, as maybe sometimes in life, many of us tend to be more materialistic. And in order to be a good overall player, I think it's very important to understand that positional chess and learning to get positional advantages will result into good, materialistic thing with time passing, because at some point, because you have so many positional advantages accumulated, you can trade those off for winning material, because the opponent will be struggling to find ways to keep everything in check. And that's why it's very important to be mindful about how many positional advantages you give to the opponent, and those eventually materialize. So don't forget about that. Be mindful with your bishop pairs, especially if you have the tendency to like knights better or something. Yeah, so here Jennifer is trying to defend. What is interesting about the way this game is going, if I remember correctly from last year, Mary is more of an attacking, aggressive player, and when things are going this way, like slowly getting the advantage and then being able to build a potential attack on the king side, with black being kind of restricted here. And I'm sure it's going to be difficult to make a pawn push. Mary is in the driver's seat for now in this position. 98, preparing some rook g6, and this is the current position. I do like white's position quite a bit. It's a matter of how to proceed further. I wonder if h4 is an option. And the reason I'm suggesting this move is I'm thinking with the move 98, black is trying to find a way to get the rook to g6, right? And so by playing the move h4, we're protecting the bishop, and we're also anticipating rook g6 to be able to chase it away with h5. And it's okay to make a pawn push on the side of the board where you have castled if the center is not opened, if there's no way for the opponent to reach your king. Because it's not just about the pieces that you have around the king, it's also about the pieces that the opponent has to try to attack you. So I am enjoying Mary's position a bit more, but we'll be back. And the last board we have Women's FIDE Master Repetian Chuchanik against Women's Candidate Master Natasha Christensen. So let's see. So we have a hyper accelerated dragon. I think this is all theory. The Marriott bind set up by white, a very nice positional attempt to stop, you know, the aggressive accelerated or hyper accelerated dragon. Bishop g7. So far so good. If I remember correctly, white usually plays bishop g5 or bishop e3 in this position. Doesn't castle just yet. Just to wait, but it looks like white decided to castle first. I don't think there's a big difference, but I could be wrong. At some point in time, white needs to move the queen away from d4 with the bishop being protected now after castling. Black will eventually have a threat to move the knight, and you have to be careful not to lose some material. So retreating the queen makes sense. That's why a lot of people in this position choose to develop their dark square bishop. Because, for example, if you go bishop g5 here and black castles, and now you retreat with the queen, which, like I said, is kind of necessary, we can retreat to d2 or e3, and the idea is we have retreated, we're now bringing the queen back to its starting position. We keep it out, right? We already developed it, but we keep it out behind the bishop, which was developed already. So queen d2 is a move I would suggest, followed by castle, and then place the rooks on central files. Oh, sorry. But in this position, this was played, and now the queen had to retreat in d1, which of course it's a bit unpleasant, and now the position is perfectly fine for black. Typical rook c1, escaping with the rook from the pin, b3, creating an unpleasant restriction to the bishop in e6, and the knight in c3 is protected, and there's no pin on the knight, and this is relatively good position. Okay, so we caught up with all of the boards. Interesting positions so far. Nothing looked too much out of the ordinary, I would say. So let us see what else we're dealing with here. The position we stopped at was, I think, after rook c1. And I was mentioning, I believe that Angelina may be considering some ideas with c5, but let's see what she's done. Ah! I guess she did not do what I suggested. I thought she might either choose queen d2, or like just sit and wait, or go d5. But she went for knight g3 instead. Okay. All right. I mean, this is a typical approach in the Zemish, which is the pawn structure she actually got, but this is not considered the Zemish because there's no g6, no King's Indian. Knight in g3 is nicely placed for the attack, creating an extra, square space in e2. b3. Queen c7. So Angelina is going directly for the attack, doesn't prepare anything anymore. There's no knight g4, I see. So she decided, well, c5 was not, right? It was not possible anymore, obviously, with the queen c1. So now she's focused on the king side. I don't know if king h1 was necessary to be played first before pushing, but I like f4. So, okay, let's discuss these positions, because these are the kind of positions that you see, I don't want to say a lot, it's not so much. Growing up, I saw a lot of them. Kind of a hedgehog, but not fully hedgehog, right? Because in the hedgehog, there's g6 and h6 as well. So Sicilian kind of positions where white has gotten quite a lot of space on the queen side. So what is black's plan? What is black going to do in these positions? Well, basically, they have to find the right moment to attack the center with one of these two pushes. If they don't, black is going to have some, struggles with the space. They won't have, easy ideas of what to do. And then, of course, white is going to prepare either e5 or f5. So you have to figure out in which one of these, which one of those two moves you're going to support. Now, right now, the way white has set up their pieces, there's no b5 possible, I think, because we can just take it. And then possibly take it like this. I don't know, knight takes, I'm worried about the queen sack in c1. It's not really sack, it's just really good, because we win the bishop too. Do we have something even better than queen takes b5? Maybe like e5? That could work. And d5, of course, is not possible, especially the nice thing about the queen in e2 is indirectly stopping, or maybe directly stopping d5, because we can capture and the bishop will be pinned. That's why, bishop f8 was played. Okay. If you were white, would you play the move e5? And don't look at the bar that it didn't change and that it's a good move. Would you actually play it is the question. I would. I definitely would. I want my bishop opened. I like to attack when it's on my pieces. I'm not the best with attacks. I need to work on it more. But yeah, this e5 looks really nice for white to be able to have the attack. Angelina may be considering it. On board 2, we've had a few developments actually here. So I was suggesting maybe bishop d6, queen f4 ideas. Might have been too much. Natalia is bringing the knight back into the game, and actually this looks really nice. No wonder white has considered capturing the knight if the knight makes it to f4. black will have some nice attacking ideas, but now Alexey decided to offer a queen trade. Natalia declined it because, of course, again, I mentioned this thing with trades, which is very important, right? If black were to trade queens here, it can help. Oh, actually, this is not a good move. Or is it? No, it's fine. It can help white capture with the knight and open up this bishop. So why would you do it when you can, do something different? Now, queen d7, it still allows white to trade the queens, but at least you traded them in such a way that white did not get an extra move to help develop b4. Interesting that b4 was played. I think b4 is definitely something that helps, is going to help black. And hear me out. With this pawn being in c3, right? It's not ideal. Interesting. It's gonna take a while for, if white can magically play a3, b4, c5, yeah, sure. I would say, yeah, sure, go for b4. But that's not an option, so how is white going to develop now? Because if bishop b2, I'm immediately going to play this. Immediately. Pin it. Don't allow that. Maybe there's something even better. But I like bishop f6. The bishop is somewhat kind of hanging there, so we want to get rid of it. I think that would be nice. Okay. Okie dokie. Toki. I like Natalia. I mean, it's about equal. I can't, I like that Natalia has the bishop pair. Like I said, small advantages. You never know what can happen. Next. Uh-oh. White is up a piece. What went wrong? Oh no, Shernaz missed this move, and it was very important. She found in this position after d5, which was probably played a bit too soon by white. Bishop c5, very nice intermediate move to get with the bishop away from the discovery of the d file. But instead of, what am I doing? Instead of playing bishop b6 here after this, she ended up playing b4, and it allowed her opponent to win some material. Now she cannot, it doesn't matter where the bishop goes, c6 is hanging. Oh no. Oh my goodness. See, that's why sometimes it's so difficult to be a commentator. Because you say things and then they happen. And you think you jinxed the players. Of course, that's not the case, but it's hard to see, because this is an idea, if you guys remember, I showed earlier, and I was mentioning I do not like the queen in f5. The queen in f5 looks great until it doesn't. And in this situation, the queen in f5 is basically in the way of g4. With the bishop retreated in e2, g4 is just asked to be played, And so Olga played g4, now the queen had to go away, and now f5. This is what I was worried about. This is like the Noah's Ark idea that usually happens with a d4 being played and then c5, or b4 and then c5, trapping a bishop in b6, and here we do something similar. Now black's position is completely lost. I don't know if she will be able to get any chances, but it's difficult. White's king is totally protected here. Bishop pair, extra piece. It's gonna be difficult for Shernaz to come back from that. That was a tough loss, like tough blunder, better said. The move. What did she play? b4. Big mistake. Okay. Oh, Mary did not go for my suggestion, which was h4, to start, putting some pressure over there. She played rook e3 instead. But rook e3... I'm not sure where she plans to bring the rook. Maybe she was planning to move the queen and bring in the rook after. Knight h4. Okay, maybe she's considering the ability to connect these two pieces, but for now with the pawn in d5, it does not look feasible. But we'll see. I wonder if black can consider just chasing this bishop away and then, or maybe king h8 to escape this pin. And I have one more idea, considering I do not see a threat for white in this position, and my other idea is to play a5. Because, it's very easy to be scared that the opponent will do something, but if you don't see anything concrete, you cannot just sit and wait until there will actually be a threat, right? And making pawn pushes tend to actually weaken the position. So if we try, instead of playing a5, this is a nice, kind of focus on the other side of the board. And yeah, I feel that this could be a bit unpleasant. And actually creating some nice ideas for black as a plan. You always want to look for how the pawn structure is placed. Pawn structure is great to help out make plans, but of course piece placement as well. And with the bishop in f8, it just felt like the bishop is looking for something to do, so could be nice. Okay, so here what have we got? Not much has changed since we left off. I mean, bishop d7 was played and the players are still thinking here, and that's about it. How are you guys doing? Where are you watching from? Are you rooting for someone in particular? Don't be shy to let me know. Write me a note, anything. It's always nice to be able to interact with people watching. If you happen to have any questions or specific game you want me to look at, please do not hesitate to let me know. It's always a pleasure to interact with the chat. Always. Which board should we? We had some developments here. So Angelina did go for my move in this position after bishop f8. I was suggesting e5 and she did end up playing it. And now that is nice. Very nice idea. How to proceed? I'm sorry, I just got stuck on this. It's just like I was just looking at the position and laughing at my own jokes. It's difficult. I'm liking this position a lot for white, but you have to be patient. Patience is a virtue, especially in chess. But sometimes you can't have patience. You need to actually attack. You can't just stay and prepare too much. Now I was looking at h7 and I was thinking, it's time. I really wanted to go here, but then I was like, oh, g6, and then what? I got nothing. It's not going anywhere. And then I was like, I'm going for f5. And then I was like, yeah, but I can't really see what's the follow-up here. But then I think I saw it now. And I don't know. I just got emotional. F takes e6. What's happening here? We want to take it. Everything. Oh, wait. Is there a mate? Oh my god. I can't believe I missed. Oh, it's not a mate? Wait. Anyways, this would be nice if I have to show it. Okay, bishop takes h7. Oopsie daisy. It's too cute not to show. Who doesn't love a pawn mate, right? Of course, after bishop takes h7, black is not forced to recapture. Black can simply play king h8, but still, now we can play probably queen h5. Ah, not. We cannot play queen h5 for some reason. Oh my goodness. Oh, knight f6. And black is fine. Oh la la. Okay, we need to come up with something different. King h8. Okay, and worst comes to worst, we can always just take the knight. You know, we can just take the material. But we can start with bishop takes h7 just to see, you know, if black will allow a nice mate on the board. So okay, so let's go back to here. So f5, pawn takes. And here. How's black gonna defend here? I don't think this is an option because we can take. What is a nice move in this position? This knight to f6? Can't be. I mean, we always take and we attack that. But anywhere the knight moves, this pawn is lost. Oh wow, is this the best move? It wasn't even part of my vision. You know, sometimes you have to be mindful of all the captures. No wonder they're telling you to consider, you know, forcing moves first. And while that's not my personal favorite to do, as you can clearly tell, it is very important to when you feel that there should be something and you can't find it, just go back to the, you know, forcing moves and just consider potential captures. So after this, maybe white's not gonna have an easy way to really mate or anything, I guess. Queen h5, there's always knight f6. And is this gonna lead to anything, or is it just a perpetual? Might just be a perpetual check here. But okay, hear me out here. So basically, in this position, white gave up a pawn, but I think we can just retreat, or not. I found an interesting move, queen f2. If it actually works, I guess not. This was interesting. I'm looking for a lot of tactical ideas to show, but it's not working. If it worked, it would have been great, but it works against this move. We have a cute mate that you typically encounter in puzzle racer or puzzle rush. We go queen f7 check, king h8, takes, checkmate. So you have to be careful about those things, of course. But black probably can simply play the move knight f6, and with this move, you know, black is covering the f file, opening up the rook, maintaining the defense on this pawn and of course on that one. So black is going to be fine in that position. Let's see how Angelina approaches. She did go for f5. Oh, her opponent played knight takes e5. I didn't even consider that move at all. I definitely think this would have been the best approach, and it's not so easy for white to really take control over the situation necessarily. What about... See, I keep trying to find ways to take control, but there's not much. I mean, if you do want to go bishop h7, of course, it's only going to lead to a draw. And I'm not seeing exactly white's continuation. Of course, I would love to sacrifice in f8, but that's not... It's not happening right now. Bishop takes e5 doesn't work. Queen h5, knight f6, right? This would be brilliant if it actually worked, but it doesn't. Her opponent played knight e5 instead, but this seems to allow the same thing. F takes e6, which Angelina I think she played. Knight f6. So compared to the other position, black was actually having a pressure on the bishop, but now they don't. There's no pressure. So, okay, this is an option, but I really don't want to give up my bishop for that knight. An alternative is, of course, to take in f7, which is the most natural, because now the queen cannot capture because the bishop takes b6. If the king captures, I feel that some mates should be on the horizon here. Maybe this, or maybe even rook takes f6, followed by queen h5. This could lead to some unpleasant attacking ideas. And if you're an attacking player, you are you are looking forward to these kind of positions to make that happen. And then if knight takes, I believe we are going to just capture in f6 regardless. Now, the way we capture remains to be seen, but we can sacrifice the rook, or we can just take with the bishop, I mean. And now maybe queen g4 checky, or rook takes f6 first. Now white is on her way to win this position. It's going to be difficult to miss pawn takes. Some developments in Natalia's game. So after b4 was played, Alexey had played the move knight e4. Knight e4 will allow some weakening of the pawns. I wonder why she moved that knight. Oh, I mean, obviously she needs to move it to develop. This seemed more natural. It's not ideal, but you know, g4, I don't know how much we want that move to be played, but that could work first too, and then maybe going bishop b2, or taking the knight away from here, maybe knight b3, or even knight f1 to come cover these weaknesses we left, if there's nothing specifically that I'm dropping, which I don't believe I am. But knight e4 is allowing the capture in f3, which Natalia did play probably relatively fast. And now we just have a better position. I like f5 as well. And where do you move the knight is the question. This is gonna be, you know, a great way to block white's weaknesses. Knight e5 is, oopsie. Knight e5 is definitely good. Ooh, I'm confused by that move. What's wrong with the... Oh, bishop a3. Okay, sorry about that. But this just destroys another, you know, some more pawns. We don't need to take that pawn. We can go rook d3 and take the rest of them. I would definitely go for bishop takes c5. And maybe this. There's too many weaknesses in white's camp. Actually, I like knight e5 even better. This comes in directly to put pressure. Also knight d3 and try to take that pawn with the knight. Looks good. Natalia is definitely in the driver's seat in that position. Shernaz was not having a good position. If you guys remember, she did play b4, dropping a piece, and it was tough after that. This pawn is also a very unpleasant pawn to deal with, of course. Okay, so it looks like I wonder if Mary is going to try to go for a draw, or she's gonna try to push further here in this position. I mean, it's too early to tell, but who knows? Maybe that's something that they can consider. And this is the game that doesn't seem to have a lot of developments yet, but as the players will get lower on time, I'm certain we'll see more of these ideas. Black is following through with the typical a6 b5 plan to break through the position, and white queen in d1 is definitely, you know, a problem. She's behind with a few moves. Black has gotten to this position a bit faster than normally. At least the queen would normally be in d2. White normally would consider playing knight d5, but with the queen in d1 it's always a question, how do you deal with this pawn in e2? Are you gonna leave it? Hey there, Dr. Jenny, welcome, and welcome everyone else who's here. Please do let me know where you're watching from, if you're rooting for someone in this tournament. It's been a while since I streamed on US Chess, well, the US Open, and if you remember, I was I didn't have much of a voice then, but I am back to streams. Very, very excited to have been invited to comment on this tournament, and I certainly hope many of you will interact with me. Some of you might be shy, but just remember, you know, I won't know who you are, but you always know who I am. So I have to be the mindful one. But if you have anyone in particular you're rooting for, or any particular game that interests you more, some ideas in an opening, I would be more than happy to address your questions. So feel free to let me know. Queen e1 So I guess Chichanik is trying to prepare some ideas here. Okay. I don't see why b5 would not be a good idea for black. I think Natasha's probably going to play it relatively soon. And black is equalized. Happy to hear, Dr. Jamie. Great to have you here. Oopsie. I keep forgetting that if I don't press the move, it's going to the next game. Angelina is thinking here, but she doesn't have that many. Do you think she's thinking rook takes f6? No, because she's trying to make it very fancy. No, but it's not. The knight can go back to g6 to protect. If it couldn't, you would have this really cool idea, potentially like playing e7, I guess, and then whenever black would recapture, you would do something like this, you know, and then try to mate. But with the knight going back, at least, like, you know, it's not going to be a checkmate. But we can capture in f7. It's difficult for black to deal with that situation. That's for sure. Yeah, we're waiting for pawn takes. Natalia has played. She didn't take the bishop. She played. Oh, she found an even fancier idea. Okay, all right. Love that. Love what she found. Bishop f6. So I was thinking to just immediately give the bishop because, you know, the pawns are weak and I think there's attack. But oh wow. Okay, even better. I like bishop f6 even better now that I see it played on the board. Because, you know, if you play this, then knight takes b4. I think it's brilliant. Or maybe not yet. Wait, because pawn takes, bishop b2. I mean, it's an option. Or maybe rook d2 is even better, you know. Put pressure. Very beautiful move, bishop f6. I love that. It's hard to defend this. I mean, you're not gonna go here. This would be devastating. Wow, beautiful. I mean, this has got to be the move of the game for sure. Bishop f6. Not even caring about doubling the pawns, but just putting additional pressure is going to be tough for Alexey to defend here in this position. This game is headed for a win for white. And we did not have a repetition. Marriott went for rook e1. So you know how I was mentioning the importance of trying to do something on the other side of the board. That is not what I had in mind with the knight coming to b5. Now, white can be thinking potentially of doing something like that. So if you follow through with my plan, you may be worried. But I think black would be more than okay here. Because even if we lose this pawn, this is going to be hanging, you know? And once that's hanging, the back rank is also going to be a problem. And plus here, is f6? No, because in between check. What is the best approach? Could we just go here and mate? I believe so. So if that is the case, which it is, rook e1 does not have a threat. Now knight b5 is taking... putting some pressure. I should choose another color. Who is the highest rated player in the event? Is Women's Grandmaster Angelina Belakovskaya. She's the highest rated. Now the defending champion is Women's FIDE Master Natalia Tsudikova. So I wonder what is I always wonder these interesting ideas, which I really wanted to play d4, but I think it's not working. It's not. What is the best approach to defend the pawn in c3? This is not helping. What if we just go back, like just bishop d2? Nobody said we cannot retreat, right? The bishop doesn't help much there. I mean, if you can put it in f6, sure, but with the bishop in f8, everything is covered. Maybe just go back. And then I'm telling you, I want to go a4, a5. If black is not going to rush with an a5, white will just start marching, pushing those knights back. This pawn is going to be an issue. The knight comes to c5. You have to be a bit careful. White is thinking in this position, so... I'm excellent at pronouncing their names. I try my best. I try. It doesn't... It's difficult. I have a name that's difficult to pronounce. I appreciate when people are trying, so I'm trying to do the same thing, right? Because that's what they say. You should only do the things that you want people to do for you as well. Bishop d2 seems the safest. Yes, I agree. I agree. Bishop d2 does seem the safest here. Just keep the pawn protected and then focus on putting more pressure. And b5 was played by Natasha. Very nice. And then queen to f2. Very nice. Very, very nice. It's a bit sneaky. This move is a bit sneaky, but it still doesn't threaten to take the queen. And usually, you know, in this position, black has the option to consider to capture. b4 is an option as well, which probably in this position is the best, because deflecting the knight, and you can look for the pawn native. I'm not saying you should capture it. You need to be mindful about it, because especially with the bishop being all opened, maybe that pawn is capturable, you know? How many Sabrinas? Oh, too many. Even people who know me for years occasionally still call, you know, I don't know if they know that I don't like to be called Sabrina, and they might do it. No, my people mispronounce my last name, but no, I've been called Sabrina on many occasions. I think I would rather have my last name mispronounced than having Sabrina instead of Sabina, you know. It is difficult. It is difficult with so many languages and accents and sounds to always get everyone's name right. But we try, right? We have interesting positions today. I'm really happy. How come there's no more moves in this game? Oh, finally, we see a move. Very nice. Pawn takes. Pawn takes. For those of you who, by the way, are interested in checking out the players broadcast, Matt, who is putting together the GGT boards and helps us have a good interaction and everything, he is streaming on Chess Dogs stream, and you can see the players playing there, so you can check out that stream too if you want to see them. There's no video or anything or commentary is happening. Everything is happening here, but if you do want to check it out, feel free to do so. Oh, James, hey, welcome. Most Americans mispronounce Alexey's name. Yes, you're right. So it took me a while to know who that person was, and that's not the only former world champion whose name is being mispronounced. Max Öve's last name often mispronounced as well. I think is or I don't know how it's I can't even I don't know. It's difficult. It's difficult. It's you know, we can only try our best. Nice to see you as well. Long time. There will be more streams coming on my channel. I've been struggling this year a lot with voice issues, so I'm trying my best to talk a bit less if I can. I can't help it though. I always have something to say, so it's the most difficult part when I'm not allowed to talk. It must be difficult to sometimes be in my company, but I'm planning to do more streams. Next stream on US Chess after this tournament, of course, is going to be the Great Nationals, and I'm happy to say that I will be covering that tournament as well. I'll be doing commentary for it. It takes place in Spokane, and if you happen to be someone who has players considering to compete in that, of course kids, grades up to 12th grade, have them register soon, because the entry fee for that tournament is going up on Monday. And of course, if you are in that region, check out, there will be some simuls, there will be some lectures happening in the same time as the tournament. So if you happen to be in Washington State, definitely consider going to the event. Yes, that's where the tournament is going to take place. So thank you, James, appreciate it. So that will be the next tournament covered, and of course I'll be doing some stream prior to that, agreed upon. I'm not sure exactly what that stream will be about. Maybe I'll play the viewers, maybe I'll have a lecture. It remains to be seen, but I'll definitely be live at least one more time besides this tournament in a couple of weekends before the event, because that event actually happens in a month. So you will see me, and definitely my own channel, so feel free to check that out. Eric, great, you're here. I didn't send you a message, but I saw you followed, so I knew you'll be here. Welcome, glad to see you. We're having a nice attacking position now on board 1. And it remains to be seen what is going to be White's choice. And Eric, you might enjoy this. It might be very similar to a game we have just seen. But here, sacrifice, right? Do we sacrifice or do we just take with the bishop? Angelina is still thinking about it. She's taking her time, which is good. When you are in a better position, potentially winning position, if you feel that you are winning, you should take your time and, double check things, but make sure you're mindful not to fall in the other trap, which is when we're having a really good position and we feel that there are too many options, too many ideas on how we can win. Some of us, I'm not saying everyone, but some of us have the tendency to try to find the best move. And you know what happens when you try to find the best move ever? You can make mistakes. So you need to try to find a move that is good, that helps you get a good position and just get your win. Don't overcomplicate the situation, and look for a path that would give you a really nice way to concluding the game. Knight h5 is very nice actually, because she wants to capture the pawn with the knight, and then of course h7 is hanging. She still has the option to go queen d3 or queen g4, so I like that move. The time control for this tournament is actually 90 minutes plus 30 seconds increment from move 1. No additional time control. And I remember last year Angelina actually had some problems with the time in one of the games. When you get too low on time, it's easy to make mistakes, so you have to be careful, of course. But I think she should be winning that relatively fast. I was really impressed with Natalia's move here, bishop f6. I was only considering giving up the bishop for the knight and then trying to get active with the pieces, but she found this move, bishop f6, which is probably the best in the position. Alexey is struggling here, knight e6, but the knight will probably end up being stuck in f8. And then this pawn is hanging as well. I'm liking black's position very much. Of course, the engine seems to like it too. That's good. That's good. We're on the same page with the engine. And for those of you who don't know, I have that bar for the viewers. I think I've been told in the past people like seeing the bar. I do not look at the engine myself. The engine is underneath, so you can be sure I'm not reading you the lines. You are welcome to read them yourselves, but my approach to commentary is trying to give you my personal opinion on games, and it's always fun when I make a blunder, because I spend a lot of time figuring out why it's a blunder. At least I get the hint that it is a blunder, so I don't stay here and talking about this brilliant move that I think is brilliant and it's actually not. So but this position is difficult for Alexey, and I want to already give a shout out to Alexey for having agreed. She's actually going to write reports about this tournament at the end of each day. So It's going to be tough to do that, especially if she ends up losing this first game. But big shout out to her for doing that, and being able to combine playing with sharing details about the game and her competitors and her games as well. It's tough when you have a tough game. But she will be doing it for the whole thing. So stay on the look for the articles being published. We haven't had developments in any of these games. Here we did. Natasha decided to take... I was thinking b4. So b4 95. My question was... Of course we take, by the way, there's no bishop e6. Now, white usually takes the c pawn, but I'm feeling e pawn right now. And my question was, can I take? I mean, it's a freebie. Why wouldn't I take it? The bishop is open, there's no rook a1, there's always a retreat with the queen in a5, no rook c2 and anything, and this pawn is hanging too. And if white chooses to capture that way, I think we can do probably the exact same thing. This pawn is still hanging. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of the move b4? I would have chosen that approach personally. Okay, she chose to take. I didn't see any other idea for white in that position. Just seems like it's really good. Pawn takes. Trades. Remember, we talked about this today, and it's one of my things. When I get a new student and they're struggling with trades, it's one of the first lectures. And nothing takes priority. No opening, nothing else. Although my favorite thing to teach are endgames, of course, but priority trades. It is very important to figure out when you make a trade whether you're benefiting your position or the opponent's position. And of course, sometimes it's not easy to tell until after a few moves, but you have to kind of look whether you're helping your position in any way if the trade is happening or if you're helping the opponent. And here it's quite natural that white is going to recapture with the bishop, so it's definitely a help for white, unless you find a way to win some material. It's definitely a help for white going from a position where this bishop is restricted by all of these pawns, right? All of the pawns on light square. That bishop tends to be more of a passive one, so white would be happy to trade it off with something. But once this happens, the bishop actually is being brought into play, looks towards f7, closes the file, and it just gives white a bit more space. The queen opens up to attack to protect the pawn in a2, so white's position just tends to be perfectly fine now. And I think, okay, there's a threat potentially with bishop b6, which is the reason why you need to do something with this pawn to make sure the queen is not going to be stuck in a5. But if you have to choose between b4 and b takes e4, I think b4 should be, the choice here. Yeah, I agree, James. Yeah, she's indeed doing a lot for chess behind the scenes, and she's used her education degree to create this program at UTD, where she teaches classes and helps develop or helps her students learn how to develop a curriculum, how to teach chess, you know. So having an education background is definitely, you know, great way to share or develop good curriculums. And then of course she has a great knowledge of chess history. So she enjoys the writing part, she told me, maybe more than even playing. But you know, we all have at some point to make a decision, to make to see what makes us happiest. And sometimes we're not the happiest playing, sometimes we are, but sometimes we're the happiest doing other things that helps continue promoting our sport. And you know, it's nice for all of us to be able to work together to do those things, and she definitely is able to balance everything really well. In this position, we are getting ready for a mating idea or such an idea, or this idea too. Knight e5 is very unpleasant, and queen b2. There's a lot of ideas for white. Black has certainly struggled with the position, allowing all of white's pawns to push forward. This is the reason why I suggested finding ways to attack the center. I'm always in favor of trying to set the grounds, trying to make sure you give yourself sufficient space. Don't allow your opponent to outplay you. It's kind of like, you know, if it's between you and the neighbor and there's a fence in between, but like if you're not careful and that fence gets pushed in your yard, you know, it just keeps being moved 1 inch, let's say, every so often, suddenly you'll find yourself not even realizing how it had moved. Like you knew you had all this space and suddenly you do not. What's going on with that? Well, you have to be mindful of your surroundings. The same in chess. If you are going to allow your opponent to push a lot of pawns forward and not find the right moment to break through, it's going to be more and more difficult as time passes. And here Angelina follows through with a good plan. I haven't quite figured out when black should have played maybe e5, but it's difficult to really tell because of course white's got a relatively good position with the knights being able to come to d5 and f5, and I didn't find a moment to play b5 either. Maybe knight c5 could have been an option to hold on to the situation, but the way the game was played here with bishop f8, it just allowed white to play e5. And of course, yes, you would love to have the chance to play g6, bishop g7, but you cannot just do it just like that in 1 second. You need a little bit of time, and it's not so easy to get the time. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so now Natalia is up 2 pawns. And the position is also really, really good. Knight e6 is trying to hit the pawn in g7. I wonder if g6 is in order or we can do something different, but I don't see why not. With the bishop on the diagonal, white's wish of activating this rook is unfortunately not going to happen. And follow-up for black is of course rook to d2 and just start putting pressure on the second rank. And then once we push this knight away, then, you know, if knight takes c7, you may ask, what do we do? How do we proceed? I was thinking rook d2, but let's see. So we go rook d2. Where's the bishop going? Bishop c1. I wonder if this works. It would be funny if bishop b2 would be possible, but it's not. It is not possible. So if rook b1, bishop d2, and black is winning material. So yeah, if I had to choose between giving up one of those pawns, I would probably give up c7 and then activate the rook. There's no way for white to actually stop black from playing rook d2 unless you go back bishop c1, in which case rook d1 happens and bishop c3. So g6 is probably a move that we'll anticipate here for black. Not much has happened here, and we've had some developments for this game. Let's see. So this position knight b5, and we suggested and some of you agreed in the chat, bishop to d2, getting the bishop back to protect the pawns, and then try to find a way to maybe knight f5, maybe push the h pawn. That was something I wanted for a while. It's not going to be so easy now because like rook g6 is definitely an idea, but maybe e4 a5 like my arrows already suggest here. Just kind of focus on this side of the board. Rook c1 was played, and now finally black played a5. This is a move I wanted for black to play for a while. It helps get this rook into play, give it something to do, and also trying to give a little bit of life for the bishop in f8, which is doing a great job to defend g7. But you know, if you can combine the ideas, if you can have threats on both sides, why wouldn't you, right? So a4, knight to d6, and c4. c4 seems to be giving up some material. Like obviously this pawn is going to be hanging eventually. Obviously white is threatening c5, but if we take, this is bad. So is she planning to go c5? Maybe. And if we take, she can take here, and then those knights are hanging. Okay, so I see the idea. So now we need to figure out why is c4 really a blunder. If you have suggestions. What about taking here? Oh! Was that played? Was he played as I said? He was played as I said. Yes, nice. Yes, yes, yes. Just taking here so that we don't allow c5. No, I was thinking bishop takes, that's why I wasn't suggesting that in the first place, but then we can capture with this knight, and yeah, knight e4. It's one way to take advantage of the situation. But this is the first move that you're thinking when you're playing c4. Mary must have missed that she's losing this pawn in e4 in this position, I believe. Because, yeah, there's not so much here in this position. Because we're attacking the queen if it was anything else. But because it's the queen, now I think, okay, black has various ways, but this is one I'm thinking. And now we can just take in b4, maybe pawn takes. And this is hanging. It's not so good. It's not good at all. Yeah, she did end up capturing, and now we're waiting for knight takes e4 to happen. This is looking good for Jennifer. Oh my goodness. This is new. This is new. The queen was in e5. What happened, Natasha? What did you do? She went back. Interesting. I do not understand exactly the... Okay, the idea of this move is probably knight d7, I think. But I don't understand the queen in e8. She must have been scared that the queen could get trapped. Potentially. And maybe that's why she went there, but... it wouldn't be my first choice to put the queen in e8. I mean, it is out of harm's way. Oh, apologies. Always retreat. Okay. I mean, from a psychological perspective, and psychology plays a very important role in chess, she has more time than her opponent, and her opponent is burning time trying to figure out what to do next. And Natasha is the lower rated player in this matchup, so obviously getting a draw or, would be a good result. But of course, but if you have a chance to try to get a better position, you should play the position. That's what I always tell my students, and I tend to believe I do the same. I try not to look who my opponent is. Now, that doesn't mean I don't have my fears. That doesn't mean that before a game I'm not going to be potentially worried about what's going to happen if I make a mistake, what's going to happen if I lose. That doesn't mean I'm not nervous. So I do get these nervousness and, worries before playing, whether it is a younger player, older player, stronger, weaker. But during the game, I like to only focus on the chess part. You cannot change very much, and after all, it's just a game that's played between you and your opponent. And that's it. Your strength, your momentum, everything that you've worked for to get into that moment, you have to try to make the best of it. And you only get 16 pieces each. That's it. And you have to figure things out, and it is what it is. try to play the position. If you're giving an advantage, it doesn't matter who it is in front of you, just take it. Okay, Angelina is definitely on her way to win. She won the pawn in f6 as well. Very beautiful arrangement with the knight. And now she has to figure out what's the more concrete or, you know, way of winning. I mean, this seems like a nice idea, of course. But she might have something else in mind. You can, of course, try to find the best possible move in the position, but it's always tricky, you know. I mean, I also like this approach, try to put pressure on the knight, and then you're also having this in the back of your mind too. Maybe queen h5 as well. There are a lot of moves that are really giving white the path to win. Wow, okay, more developments here. So what happened after knight to e6? Natalia decided not even to save the pawn. She didn't play g6. Okay, she went for rook d2 directly. And after bishop g7, she decided to go grab the knight, gave up the rook, but now she has two minor pieces and a pawn for the rook, and then these pawns are really weak, so eventually they're probably going to fall. When you have a rook against one or two minor pieces, against one, of course, it should be better, but against two is very difficult. But you need to have it active, at least have the ability to attack the weaknesses of the opponent. Unfortunately for Alexey, she doesn't have an active rook, so this is going to be very tough for her to come back from this position. Olga is up. Too much material. I feel for Shernaz. She's played a good game at the beginning, found a beautiful move, bishop to c5, but unfortunately for her, she missed the ability to continue the initiative with, first retreat to bishop e6 and then continue some kind of initiative, maybe taking d5, maybe c5, maybe b4, but this was very important prophylaxis. She missed that ability by playing b4, and then the position started going downhill for her. It looks like after knight e4, okay, so Jennifer has won a pawn and is headed to winning a second one. She wanted to make things maybe more safe for herself, because obviously it is unpleasant when you're seeing so many pieces of the opponent putting pressure on your king. So I think that's why she played bishop h4, but I think just taking cannot be a problem here. And knight f5, we can always go back, right? And now we also have rook g6. So she chose to take, and now, okay, she still has a much better position. I'm not sure what queen e4 is doing. And what exactly is the... Is c4 working here? No. Rook a1. Oh wow, this is so gorgeous, guys. This is so gorgeous because we cannot go b5 because we take it. Oh yes. So Jennifer has to be careful not to take in a4 because of rook a1. I need to show it again just to make sure you realize you cannot recapture because your rook in 8 is hanging. So okay, it does make sense to bring the queen central. Okay, but we don't need to grab that pawn. We have sufficient extra material. C5 is a threat. Okay, let's just go c5. Yeah, exactly. c5, and now the position is just getting better. Queen c6, maybe at some point, rook d1. And unfortunately, white's attack has gone away and this bishop has remained restricted. Any attempts to bring the bishop into game with bishop c2 will be met by g6. And I think black's king is totally safe. And white is going to be in trouble. If I were black, I would probably consider bringing in my rook. Now I have that outpost and yep. And not much development in this game. Do you guys have any questions, any particular game you are impressed with, want to know more about? Any player that you know who's competing in this tournament? Have you been following their chess careers? So we have the first result. Women FIDE master Natalia Tsodikova, the defending champion, has won her game. She's played very nicely, found some very nice moves in the position. Although I have the feeling the opening stage was very well played by Alexey, probably having preparation, getting into relatively balanced position, but with time, Alexey unfortunately made a big mistake here with knight e4, and things have started going downhill from there with the pawn structure being weak and then figuring out how to develop. It wasn't easy. This bishop in c1 kind of kept her away from being able to improve at all in that game. So, but be sure to look for Alexey's recap article for this round. We also had a result in this game. Olga has won against Shernaz. Tough loss there for Shernaz. Oh, bishop c2 was actually played. Okay, I'm anticipating g6. I don't know if you guys want some other move for black to be played in this position. I think g6, yeah, it was played. g6 makes a lot of sense. It's a natural move. It's supporting f5 to chase the queen away, and then, like I said, the d file is definitely going to be good for black. Okay. And actually, do we take the knight here? You see, the bishop pair out of nowhere now is starting to improve quite a bit, right? The bishop will be going to b7 now. This is not going to be easy. I was originally thinking to do this, and I'm trying to see if bishop e7 will ever be possible. Now, obviously, if we want bishop b7, we need to move the rook away, which will give up the file. So maybe black can get away with having given up the bishop pair in this position. Actually, I'm liking this. Now, time-wise, Natasha will have to be careful to maintain that edge that she has. Still 12 extra minutes right now, but that can go away in a second, so, you know, not easy. Okay, Angelina has allowed. Okay, she has 2 extra pawns. She has allowed her opponent to defend, so it's definitely not going to be mate anytime soon. But she does have the 2 extra pawns. All she has to do is just trade off, and the end game should be going in her favor. G6 played. No responses from white. So we have 3 games remaining. 95. Okay. What are you guys thinking? Is Natasha going to take the knight? Or is she planning for other way to stop the move knight c7, which I don't see another way. Of course, we can also not capture the bishop because knight takes is going to be a fork. So I think bishop takes d5 looks like a nice idea, right? I don't. Do you see any other moves here? Casual. Hey. How are you doing? There are some interesting games today. Definitely some interesting games. I mean, it's just round 1, so obviously, you know, there's things happening. A beautiful game was played by Natalia, actually. It was an opening I wasn't so familiar with. I mean, it was a, you know, d5 early in this Italian, and white certainly had things prepared here when the E and D pawns were traded off, and it looked kind of balanced. And I felt that Alexey had played relatively fast this game. But Natalia was able to kind of keep her pieces always ready to come into play and avoided some trades. And then it is around this position where things started going in black's favor as soon as b5 was played to chase the bishop away, and then knight e4. So this was not one of those games, the attacking games that we think, you know, it was a nice positional play. Very, very nice. And my favorite move of this game was actually in this position. When knight c5 was played, I was only considering capturing the knight and just destroying the pawn structure. But then as soon as I saw what Natalia's move was, which was bishop f6, I really enjoyed the move because it just, you know, maintains the pressure, maintains the tensions, leaves the knight in c5, although the knight looks great. It doesn't do as much. It wants to take in b7, but we don't care about that as much as we care about c3. And then black gets to activate the rook. And so this is the move that they really enjoyed, the creativity of it. And Julina's had a nice attacking game, which now will lead to a win soon. And then there was another game that was decided, which was this one, which I showed earlier. It was a Cambridge Springs not fully being able to be played, and it was around this moment that black made a mistake that led to the loss of a piece. You know, we always have to be mindful how we place our pieces, and what geometrical patterns are possible at all times, because you never know what could happen. And Shernaz unfortunately messed up here, and now after bishop e6, black just loses a piece with g4 and f5. So tough loss there for Shernaz. A nice win by Olga. So that's what we have right now. 3 games remaining. Board 1 seems quite, you know, very close to a win. This game is looking great for Jennifer. She seemed to be struggling a bit with White having the chance to attack her, but she is certainly getting ready here to convert. If black at some point in time, obviously not right now, but if these 2 pawns get to be traded off, the B and C pawns will just merge to the win. So we're liking this, I think, quite well for black. And there's no more attack that Mary can do. She did play g4, but see, think about it this way. When the position was here and, okay, bishop g4, bishop g5, fine. I'm not even sure if b4 was necessary, but at least it took the knight away from the attack on e4. But I really thought that she had to try to find some way, actually even a4, now that I'm thinking about it. This is a move I didn't consider, but even this here, or maybe like around here somewhere, not rook e3, maybe even h4 could have been a nice idea, you know, to try to get more space and try to build up an attack. With time passing and just slowly bringing the pieces, White missed a lot of opportunities, and Black finally was able to get to attack the center and turn out to have a really good position. Now is winning extra pawn and second extra pawn. Maybe not the best, you know, main line approved by the engine, but certainly something that is sufficient to show advantage. After knight e4, of course, like I said, those pawns can be traded. Knight c3 is an option as well. That rook can infiltrate here, doesn't have to come on the d file, and it's going to be difficult. How is everyone else doing? Do you have any other questions regarding this tournament? Any concerns? Natalia did not take the knight. Interesting. I don't understand why she didn't take the knight. I'm not a huge fan of the bishop here, and I'll tell you why. Yeah, of course, now we have to move the rook. But in some situations, that bishop will be exposed. The bishop and the pawns are going to be exposed. And that's going to be a problem. White forced to play bishop a4. Wait, white? Wait, which position are you talking about, casual? Oh, did I miss that? That was probably from before. What do we do here with white? Where do we move the rook? Maybe rook d1? Because it's at some point we can open up the file. That could be nice. Maybe rook d1. I don't think f4. I don't think white is ready for f4, but maybe f4 is an alternative too. Rook a3, ouch. This is going to be a bit unpleasant to meet. The problem with queen h6, I mean, it's not a problem, but of course we want to take h7, but black's king just runs away and we cannot really do that much. We cannot do that much, and now rook takes h3 will be played next move, then this rook is hanging. The Jennifer has not played in 15 years or something. Maybe not 15, but for how many years did she tell me she hasn't played for? At least 10 years she hasn't played, at least for 10 years. But she did tell me she's been playing games online. She said she didn't give up chess fully. She's been playing, just not over the board. Yeah, now rook takes h3 followed by knight takes c1. It's nice. Wait, what? My mic feels like I'm broadcast. Wait, really? Is it the? Do you hear this noise? Do you hear the noise like of a fan in the background, which is the fan to make sure that my computer doesn't get overheated, like it happened for the nationals? Let's see. Okay, help me out to get the better voice. Okay, let's see this. So how is it now? Is it better now? Or still the same? Or do I need to change something? I can change. Uh-oh, did I do something? Can you still hear me? Oh no. Did I mess it up? Okay. I think I messed something up. I did. 1 second, my friends. 1 second. Okay. My audio is fine. Oh, okay, so it wasn't a wrong. Well, thanks for telling me, casual. So is it better now? It might have been too far away from me. Now I got it closer. So you're saying it's better now? I think it was that's what it was. It was too close. Okay, all right. Well, think. See, this is what happens when you have to travel with all your devices to a new location. Because I am on site. The tournament is taking place in Salt Lake City. It's the weather is relatively cold. Okay. Of course, it would be nice if it was a bit warmer, but it's winter. We are expecting things to be cold eventually. But yeah, I travel with the mic, and I think it got some settings on it got moved. But okay. Thanks for letting me know, Casual. I appreciate it. All right, Natasha has taken the knight. Yes. I don't have a favorite. I'm just rooting for the moves, the good moves. Whenever I did fix it, thumbs up. Thumbs up for fixing it. Way to go, Sabina. It's very interesting, actually, that I arrived here last night, like yesterday, and the internet in the hotel wasn't working on any of my computers. So I spent a little bit. Luckily, I have a hotspot, so I use my hotspot. No worries. Sabina's got her ways to fix things. But then I figured out how to fix it. It took a little bit of time because some hotels, they have this, like, you connect on the internet and then there's a pop-up thing showing up, and it wasn't showing up no matter what I did. So figured it out finally, and then one of the players actually in the competition told me her internet wasn't working, if I could help her get it set up. So I set up a lot of things. I think I missed my calling. If you need some help with anything regarding fixing audio things or internet things, maybe I should do that if chess is not. I'm just kidding. We're sticking with chess. We're liking this. Okay. So I can't decide what I feel about this bishop h6. Wouldn't we have liked to have this and have the rook on the c file instead of the current position? We're just having, okay, the rook on the c file, but then this one here is scaring me. It's very scary to have the rook in b8. Very scary. Because it can potentially be trapped, that's why. But I mean, maybe she wants to make sure b7 is controlled. She does have more time. She's done a good job at the time. We'll be back to that game. Let's see. Is Angelina on her way to win this? She may be. She may be really close to winning, like finishing the game. I mean, obviously she's winning, but I'm trying to find some cool mate. I don't see one yet, but okay. This is probably what we expect, this or this. But rook g6 maybe allows rook takes e5. Rook h7 potentially also. We can go rook takes e5. And now the game is approaching the end. I sounded like an artist on the stage. I'm feeling so disappointed. Like I haven't streamed on US Chess, and I do have different streaming settings for both US Chess and for my channel, because for US Chess I'm also using this to record sometimes. So I am having the different settings, and yeah, I'm disappointed. I don't know, something was clicked, and although I thought I had volume, I was talking for 10 minutes. I'm glad someone said that there was actually no mic at the beginning. There's no voice, no sound at the beginning of the stream. So okay, I'll definitely check it, casual and Sabina. Well, I appreciate you being here. Tomorrow I'll be streaming as well. And by the way, the schedule, for those of you who are interested, let's see if this works. Of course it didn't work. Here's the stream schedule for this weekend. The previous audio had a different flair. Okay. So the rounds are, so today I put the times in Eastern time, although we are in Utah, so it's 2 hours behind actually. So tomorrow the round will start at 1 p.m. Eastern time and 6 p.m. Eastern time. So local time would technically be 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. With this current time control that they have, it will be perfect for the games, I think. So it will be cool. So that's the schedule. It's good to know. I will definitely check out my my voice at the beginning of the stream. So first win for Jennifer, who has not played in many years. But fun fact about her, for those of you who weren't here earlier, she has played in 30 Michigan State Championships. It's amazing. And she won about half of them or something, I was told. So very, very impressive to come back to chess. And she was very excited about it. I actually did an interview with her earlier today, and she was very positive about coming back to chess, and it's been exciting. I'm really looking forward to you guys listening to the interviews. They'll be posted on US Chess, and of course I will brag about it, because it's always cool to be able to learn new things about some of these players who've certainly stand and have a lot of inspiring stories that would be nice for many of us to know, even if their current ratings do not show let's say a big strength. Technically these are FIDE-rated, by the way, too. These are the FIDE ratings. They do have a higher USEF rating, but the rating that you see here is the FIDE rating. And yeah, no, casual. No, it's not like that. I'm proudly wearing the US Chess t-shirt. Proudly wearing. This is the team t-shirt that we had I was wearing in Albania, where I was the head of delegation for the U.S. team for the World Youth Championships. So, you know, it's cool. It's cool. It's a nice state. It's a very nice state. Very chill. At least where I am, it's chill. I don't know. It's just a bit cold. That's it. Okay. Queen. We will see. We will see this mate very soon. And we just have 2 games remaining, right? That one, which Angelina is on the way to win that game, and this game here. Why was bishop d4 played? Was white forced to do that? So maybe bishop c4, I was thinking to put some pressure. Or maybe bishop a7, but then we do get a bit of activity with the rook. This was an alternative too, to trade that bishop since it was played in h6, but no sacrificial ideas that I'm seeing. So white is just kind of regrouping now, and yeah, you see now I'm not happy with the bishop in h6. The blue US chess shirt is fire. It is. It is. It's like the team. It's a team shirt. It has a team logo too. Yeah. I like it. I decided it's time to wear it on a stream, because I usually don't, I used to not wear, any. Yeah, I used to complain to Brian and just be like, yeah, I'm not getting anything, and then it's like, yeah, don't worry, Sabina, I'll make sure you'll get something. No worries. And I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And then finally I got one when I was the head of delegation. So I was like, okay, I guess you forgot about me. But no worries. I found my way to get the US shirt. And it's always nice to, represent. Bishop g7. Takes, check. Check first, or should we go b4 first? b4 gives some, I see some nice ideas for black activity. It's always nice to get a bit of activity, but I would definitely trade and probably go maybe queen d4. And I'm also anticipating some h-pawn push, but it's hard. This is a game with the least amount of time. Okay, 30 seconds increment, but yeah. You'll start a letter writing campaign? Get Sabina and US shirt. No, guys, come on. I'm just kidding a bit. What would be life without a joke here and there, right? But b4 played, and I was mentioning I don't think it's a good idea because of knight a4. So let's see if knight a4 is going to be played. Of course, the knight has to stay active. Do we capture in d4 first and play knight a4, or do we play knight a4 directly? Which approach would we take? Ah, this is not liked by the engine. I wonder why. Something better than this. So then I guess we just go knight a4 directly. I was looking at bishop e3. Okay, but what do you do if you keep it? Because the bishop in g7 is a really great protecting piece. So there isn't so much that you can do there, you know. Is there another placement for the knight? Maybe she is deciding what I'm thinking. Bishop d4 or knight a4. Yeah, no. But personally, casual, I really think we should take. This is always a bishop that you want to get rid of. It's very unpleasant on the diagonal. Keeps the king safe. I don't see why not take and play this. You want to get the, but how are you going to get the a6 pawn with knight in c5 if you don't play b4? You still have to play b4 eventually, right, to get the knight away. But then how do you actually get the pawn in a6, because bishop c4 won't be possible. It's not easy to get the pawn in a6. I am with you. I would love for that pawn to be captured, but it's not going to be easy. I like your idea, casual. I just don't see. I don't see how to do it. I still don't see. So is this game over? This game is over. Okay, I predicted queen here and rook h5. Varinia resigned. A tough game for Varinia. She had, I think, a tough time getting chances after starting with a relatively modest Indian defense, where white just simply got. I mean, I was really thinking g4, g5 personally, but Angelina was more cautious with the placement of her pieces, and then with c5 being played and the capture, white was able to just maintain this extra space. It was like a Marriott bind without the g6, obviously, but very, very well played by her. And yeah, so she gets her first point. So far we have Angelina with having won the game. Then we have Natalia Sudikova, beautiful game as well. She won 2. Olga Sagalchik was able to outplay Shernaz. Jennifer comes back after 15 years with a nice win against Mary, who actually Mary had an amazing tournament last year. She's very nice to talk to as well. Very chill when it comes to chess. She enjoys the process of learning all the time, and last year she finished second. So This is not a fun way to start the tournament, but I know she will be able to bring in some nice games in this tournament. And then here we have the last and only game of the tournament right now. It's tricky. These positions are tricky casual. If you're going to play e6 with black in this position, you have to be mindful about this pawn. So I agree, it's a bit scary, but I think you don't want to play e6. You would love for white for if black played e6. I think e6 should only be played with d5 in my opinion. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I played these kind of positions, but in general, it just weakens the position. And now it's just a matter of what we do next. Queen a7. Yes, I would trade. I would also trade the d6 for b4. Well, actually, I'm not sure. If you play e6, yes, I would trade it. But without e6, I wouldn't trade it. I tell you why. This is a protected pawn. This is a backwards pawn. Therefore, that is by definition a weakness. The pawn in b4. The one in d6 is not. While it could give you more space, why wouldn't you just win the b pawn for free if you could, right? So in my mind, I think what we are trying to do is just find a way for white to get rid of the pawn in b4, whether it is by trading it for the pawn in a6 if you could, or play b5. You want those two pawns to be traded. You would be happy with white to trade those two if you could, but I don't think from black's perspective you want to trade that for this. I would rather win it. And now it's just going to be a matter of time. I have the feeling there might be some blunders on one of the sides. It's going to be difficult a bit. Oh, I just said there will be a blunder. Doesn't black win material now? Wait, how do we do this? Because knight b5, there's queen a6. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh no, there's queen c6. Wait. How so close? I know there's a way to trap the queen. The queen is trapped. Oh, maybe now. Now, you were talking about it. Now you're talking about it casual. e6. It's happening. Let's go. Now we're doing it. Get rid of the bishop. Rook a7. And we got it. We got the queen. Or rook c6, I think also works. You see, you were right. You had like a vision ahead, like you predicted. You had this. Indeed, e6. Now it's the time. Yeah, bishop b7 is certainly helping now. Knight b5. If Natasha sees that, she's going to get really close to winning. If she doesn't see and she plays rook d8, then that is going to be a problem because white will probably go queen. Maybe rook c. Should we go rook c1 first? Rook c1 first with tempo. You gotta move the knight, then we take in e6. But yeah, knight b5 is the move that has to be played here, and it's going to be tough for white to defend. She has 5 minutes, so is she going to be able to find it or not? Yes, she has found it. Nice one, Natasha. I also have to mention that this tournament has prizes for the biggest upset. Every round, there's a prize for the biggest upset. There was no upset so far. Natasha could produce the first and only upset in the tournament if she gets at least a draw. Queen a6. All right, now she has to find the move rook to c7 to attack the bishop, because the rook is attacked anyway. So that's like, if you play knight b5, you played because you saw rook c7, right? I'm thinking. You guys agree? Can I suggest to turn off the computer eval bar? I did that for people. I'm not looking at the you know that the things are underneath, right? So you don't want the eval bar? You'd rather not have eval bar? For me, it doesn't matter if it's there or not. People have requested it in the past, and that's why I got used to putting it there. If most people agree, I can take it out. It's not. But the engine is underneath. I can show you where it is. It's here. So I'm not seeing this. I only see it till here. We only see it now when I'm showing you, but yeah. I don't know what you want me to turn off. You want me to turn off all of them? e6. If she plays e6, it is... Oh no! e6. e6 traps the queen. She must have seen something that she didn't like, but I don't know what. Okay, knight c3. She's going for the exchange instead. Okay, I mean, this is also, of course, possible. Rook c1. How is she planning on continuing now? Because she gets pinned too. I mean, is this... Oh, b5 was played. Okay. What? Rook c1, this is what she... No. No, this is... I'm being very confused as to what exactly is happening after rook c1. Maybe e6 here. And depending on where you move the bishop, we might take... Okay, I see the point. So black decided to go b5. But I don't think those pawns are strong enough to actually help. Aliat, hey! There's great games. Are they over? Is it over? Because you are on stream. Is this game... Don't tell us the result, but is it over already? I'm on 15 minutes delay, so... Natasha is looking really good to potentially win this. So... Or maybe you're just going to keep us guessing. We're not telling anything. I mean, it must be over because there's not that much time left. There's been some great games. Very nice win by the higher rated players. Some attacking chess, positional chess. Yeah, usually what I want to see. Right? No. No, it's over, isn't it? Like, it has to be over. There's no additional time at move 40. That's just one time control. Queen takes b5. Yeah, queen takes b5. But actually, don't you want to try to still trap this queen all this time? Like, all of this time we tried. I tried. I want to try to trap it, but then there's b6. What about rook takes b5? Why do you want to take with the queen? I don't want to trade queens. I really like that queen staying there. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. I'm unless Natasha blunders, she's really looking good in this game. And I was asking her before the tournament. I didn't get the chance to interview her, but at breakfast I saw her this morning, and I was just, asking her a little bit about her training and how she plans on like, what are her expectations for the tournament and stuff. And she said she's been training, and she does have a full-time job. She's a lawyer, a patent lawyer, which is really cool, I think. It's always nice to learn new things about people. And how chess plays a role into their, life as well. And she told me she really enjoys playing these days, and she wishes she could have more time to spend on chess and play more, but, the fight broke out? Wait, are you serious? Wait, it's a draw? Wait, what? No, this is what? Aliat! We should agree on a draw? No, this is a wrong result, right? Aliat, come on. Right about, and as I was saying, how she enjoys playing more. Guys, what is going on? It's a free pawn. When I was talking about the importance of playing the position, not the player, I tried. I hope Natasha's listening to this. And she gets confidence that she can do it. Doesn't matter. She was telling me she's the lowest rated in the tournament, but okay. Well, what can I say? I mean, she's winning this pawn. I mean, Okay. All right. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed this round. I'm sorry about the technical difficulty, but I tried to make up from it by not taking any breaks during the stream, besides one that I had to go give an interview myself, which might be broadcasted on TV. I don't know. We'll find out later. But it's been a pleasure being here, and I'm really thankful for... I know. I'm really thankful for being invited. This tournament is sponsored by Precision Tune Auto Care, and just being able to be on site is nice. I miss this with my commentary for US Chess. I miss the US Open. I miss seeing people and being on site, but great to be here. Although you guys still only see me online, but that's okay. We'll meet one day. I certainly hope you'll enjoy the interviews, which will be posted on US Chess. More videos will come soon. And tomorrow the round does start at it's 11 a.m. local time, so 1 p.m. Eastern. I've been telling the times in Eastern time, so if you happen to be around, it's the weekend and you want to join in, I will be commenting from 1 p.m. Eastern time, and then the next round is at 6 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be here on US Chess. Sorry about this game. I'll try to find out more information as to what happened. But yeah, 11 a.m. local time, 1 p.m. Eastern. Guys, thank you so much for being here.